Do you know that you can monetize your maturity? Now, that may sound surprising to some people, but let me ask you again. Do you know that you can monetize your maturity? Do you know that you can leverage on your maturity and create significant impact in your family, in your community, in your nation, in your generation, in your industry? Let me ask you a question. What is the proof of your maturity? Does it mean that is the proof that you are a respectful person? That's good. That is good, right? But maturity is such an asset. I don't know how I got to start researching and trying to analyze to understand, but it just came to me that there is something more to maturity. That maturity is such a soft asset. And when I began to study how people mature in life and what they have been able to compound in the process of maturing, I began to see how maturity is such an asset. Now, when I begin to tap into it myself, to use the frameworks and the methods I have developed to convert maturity into money, into impact, into significance, into influence, it was so mind blowing for me. And that's why I'm sharing this video with you. You see, this may sound controversial to some people, and this may not sit well with some people, and this may sound like a shock to some people, but anyways, I'm a disruptor, right? In terms of introducing thought patterns and all of that. But I believe this. Listen, true maturity, true maturity should lead to prosperity and impact. Maturity is beyond you being a respectful, being a respectful person. People think that maturity is just about how you respond to people, how you manage your anger, how you manage your emotions. That is good. Those are very important elements and components of maturity. But can we take it a notch higher? How can we use this profound element of life to create significant impact in the lives of other people, and of course to use it as one of the components, one of the pillars to engineer prosperity and wealth creation in our lives? Let me tell you something. Anybody who is, let's say, 40 years and above, and you have genuinely been going through life, and you have been changing and learning and becoming better, I can guarantee you that you have amassed enough about maturity that if you understand what I'm about to share with you, you'll be able to convert that maturity into significant solutions, significant services, if I may say, and you're able to engineer, prosperity, significant impact in the lives of other people. Like for those who follow me in this community, you know that as I always say, I will never bring anything to share in public if I have not been thinking about it, researching and experimenting. This topic about maturity has been in my idea bank like for the last 2 years, and I've been thinking about it, researching, experimenting, and so on. So it's something that I have thought through, I have tried, I've experimented in my own life, right? So it is important to understand this. For many of you listening to this may literally be that missing point in you making sense with your life, right? And people talk about midlife crisis. While I was doing all these writings and studies and analysis and experimentations, I was like, hey, people who get into the age of 35, 40, 45, 50, and they get into midlife crisis, I think that understanding their maturity blueprint and how to convert it into impact and influence will literally shift that perspective or shift what is causing them to be experiencing midlife crisis. So from my study and research, I've been able to document 20 principles or 20 methods that anybody can apply to convert their maturity into significant impact, into building wealth and prosperity and what have you. So I'll share as much as I can in this video, but I cannot cover it all. So if you're watching this on any social media platform, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, please check the comments or check the description of this video. You will find a link to join our free community of other leaders and professionals where I always take time and teach these things. Sometimes we'll take a weekend and I spend like 3 hours just teaching some of these things in a practical way, and I answer questions on how to apply them in life, career, business, and of course family in some cases. So this is important. Now, let me lay the foundation and then I start sharing a couple of frameworks with you on how to apply this. In my experimentations and studies and trials, I have come to conclude that true maturity, this again will sound controversial, but I'll say it again. True maturity should lead to prosperity and impact. Why? Because one sign of maturity is when you as a person, when me as a person, lady, gentleman, when we come to a place in this life's journey when you know that every decision, every action that you take should be transgenerational, should be impactful, should be able to create significant shift in the lives of other people. So when you understand what I'm sharing with you, you come to a place where you understand that you will transition the way you live life from hustling to positioning for significant success, right? Because we live in a culture of hustle, but we are supposed to live in a culture of wisdom, positioning culture. Because when you carry out the right positioning and wisdom, you now position yourself for success, right? Now, so the purpose of this is to bring you to that place where you are not just living, right? You're not just living, but you are able to use, your maturity process, what you've been able to experience in life so far in the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. I don't know what age you are in, but you can begin to take that process that you have gone through as a person and you use it to engineer a different kind of result in your life, to engineer impact, to engineer influence, to engineer wealth creation in what you are doing. Now, the first principle or the first method that you can practice to convert your maturity into significant impact or wealth creation is what I call adopt legacy first thinking. Adopt legacy first thinking. What does that mean? This is where you come to a point in your journey where you understand that as a matured person, your decisions aren't about just immediate gains, but the way you make your decisions, they are about shaping narratives that will outlive you. Anybody, anybody who can make decisions that are focused on shaping the narratives of other people based on their experience and their journey, that person will always be a person of impact. And here's one thing I've discovered. Anybody who creates significant impact, and if you understand, let's say the business part of impact, for those who are business minded and want to make money, if you understand how to package that impact, how to brand that impact, how to monetize the impact, and how to distribute it, you will automatically begin to make money, right? So in adopting legacy first thinking, your process is, you understand that you need to be making mature decisions because you're a mature person. And in your mature decision making process, you are looking beyond immediate gains. You are looking at, okay, how can I use this that I know to begin to shape the narratives of how people see life, of how people see culture, of how people in my age group are thinking, right? So when we begin to operate like that, there is a shift in what you're putting into the world, and input will always contribute to your output. So if you want to change the outcomes of your life, begin to change what you're inputting into the world as a whole, into the society, and so on. So at this stage, when you are doing something, you are focusing on going beyond short-term noise and focusing on exponential impact. You see, we need to come to a point in our lives where when we are making a decision, right, when we are getting things done, we should go beyond short-term noise and begin to focus on exponential impact. Now, you ask questions like, will this decision echo positively in 30 years? Will this decision echo positively in 30 years? Now, why 30 years? All of you listening to me right now, add 30 years to your current age, you will be shocked at how much time you do not have, right? If somebody is 5 years old now, that child will be 35 years old. If you're watching this and you're 20 years old, you'll be 50 years. If you're watching this and you're 30 years, you will be 60 years old, right? So with this legacy, first thinking, you ask questions like this: that this decision I'm about to make, how will this echo in my life in the next 30 years? When you begin to do that, you see, you will stop guessworking. You will stop assuming. You will stop doing things from the place of excitement. Because people who do the above will never build prosperity and build wealth. I always say that there's an age that when you get to, and I always recommend when you are getting into from the 28th year, right, of living and above, there are some things that you should start outgrowing. There's an age where you get to, you go beyond guessworking, you go beyond assumption, you go beyond excitement, you go beyond doing things to please people, you go beyond following trends and appearances and how to please people with the way you look. You're focusing on, hey, at this age right now, the next 30 years of my life will literally determine the rest of my life. So I don't need to play games. I need to get it right. I need to get superior knowledge, superior wisdom, superior skills, superior decision making so I can get this right and begin to succeed. So here you're beating the game, right? Going beyond short-term rewards, and you're looking at, hey, how can I get long-term impact in what you are doing? So in this point, maturity, counters on unnecessary guesswork when you tap into your maturity and begin to implement things that will shift the rest of your life. Now, let me share with you a 4-step process that I think that if anybody follows, they will be able to practice this method of adopting legacy first thinking. So let me share with you a 4-step process. So if I spoke about the legacy first thinking and you're wondering, hey, how can I practice this in my life? Let me give you a 4-step process that I have, after studies, analysis, and experimentation, tried it in my life. I think that anybody can implement it. Number one, the first step in this process is practice what I call integrating a 30-year echo test into decision making. Integrate a 30-year echo test into your decision making. Like I already challenge us, at 30 years right now, to your current age, you'll be amazed at how much time you do not have here on earth. You don't have that much time, right? So, as a mature person who wants to convert their maturity into impacting other people, into influence, into wealth creation and prosperity, the first step in practicing, legacy first thinking is to, when you want to make a decision, practice integrating a 30-year echo test in your decision making. For example, this is where you are establishing what you can call a legacy lens. What is a legacy lens? So establishing a legacy lens for decision making that filters every choice through its potential impact, right, in the next 30 years from now. That's how you're looking at it. So before you're making a key decision, you can ask questions like, how will this decision be viewed in the next 30 years? Will this decision contribute to a meaningful, sustainable narrative, or will this decision only serve a short-term interest? Right? Instead, that's step one. Step two in practicing the legacy first thinking is harness the power of exponential delayed gratifications. Harness the power of exponential delayed gratifications. Many people are not able to manifest at their highest because they don't know how to practice delayed gratification. That's why there are many people that they get to the age of 35 and even 40 and they cannot show anything that makes sense because in the early part of their lives, they did not practice delayed gratification. For example, they will sit for hours and watch movies, losing time they will never gain. If they see a movie, they cannot practice delayed gratification and say, you know what, I will not, although I want to watch it, my mind desires it, but I will not watch it. I'll use that time to read books. I'll use that time to practice a skill, right? Or partying and clubbing, right? Be very popular between 18-year-olds and maybe sometimes 30-year-olds, right? So people don't know how to practice delayed gratification to say, you know what, I will not, I will stop clubbing so that I will stop drinking alcohol so I can focus on learning and doing things that will reshape the rest of my life. So if you would practice, legacy first thinking, you need to practice step number 2, which is harnessing the power of exponential delayed gratification. This is where you are embracing the mindset of patience, the mindset of strategic investment, right? So if others are going clubbing and you choose, no, I'm not going clubbing, I'm going to spend the evening, the night reading a book in my industry so I can become the best in my industry. That is strategically investing your time. You see that now? So this is where you're focusing on long-term returns instead of short-term returns. Long-term doesn't mean that you're going to, enjoy these returns in your old age. No, there are some things that you cannot enjoy now. For example, you said that, hey, I will not go clubbing now in the next 1 year or 2 years. But I will stop going clubbing at all so that I start doing things that will shift my career forever in the next 5 years, or I can double my income in the next 2 years. Right? That is you overcoming short-term rewards now so you can enjoy long-term rewards. So here you are setting up, long-term financial plans. You're setting up long-term business strategies, long-term career strategies that you are prioritizing, future payoff over immediate profit. If we're able to think like this as mature people, or tapping into maturity, a lot will begin to change in our lives, right? So focus on building, infrastructure, building culture, relationships that will sustain your life for decades. Now, number 3 is balance profit maximization and impact maximization. For example, those are in business. Sometimes people just focus on, hey, let me just make a lot of money, more money, more money. No. Or those are working, they just focus on, let me get a good job, just a good pay, good pay, good pay. Good salary is good. Profits are good, but balance the two. Balance profit maximization with impact maximization. Balance, salary maximization with impact maximization, because these are very important in creating true impact, in creating true prosperity, and of course true wealth. So here you're challenging the traditional profit driven approach. This is for businesses, business owners. You're challenging that approach and begin to ask yourself, what does the world need? What does the world need, and how can I contribute to that need in a way that goes beyond my lifetime? Right? We begin to think like that. You're tapping into that's a mature way of thinking and looking at it. And this is where, when you ask questions like this, you can begin to create generational wealth in what you do. Number 4, the fourth step in practicing, legacy first thinking is build a legacy mindset within your team, within your family, within your friends. If you have serious friends, or you have a couple of friends that you guys are best friends, build a legacy mindset within your team, within your family. If you're a husband, build a legacy mindset as a leader of the family, in your wife, in your children. Let them begin to think in terms of, legacy in that direction. This is important. Why? Because when you instill the concept of legacy in your team, in your family, you are ensuring that everybody around you is aligning with that bigger purpose, with that bigger picture. And that's you tapping into maturity, because you are looking through this lens of maturity as a person. Hey, that based on the things I have learned in this life, we need to start having this legacy mindset if we're going to build a sustainable business, family, or even career, right? So here you're teaching people to think beyond, let's say, annual goals, think beyond, annual salaries, but they're focusing on how do we create generational impact or significant industry shift, or bring our family to that place where we know that the future of our children is actually secured based on the actions we have taken today. So that is the mindset of the mature person. So you see how you're tapping into your maturity and you're thinking differently, you're taking different actions, and these actions are shifting core areas of your life, which when these areas begin to shift automatically you're bringing yourself, you're aligning yourself with prosperity, you're aligning yourself with wealth creation, and of course with impact. So create that culture of legacy mindset, create that culture of ownership, create that culture of people seeing that, hey, we need to be part of something bigger and of course transformational. Awesome. So the conclusion here is in this step two is that, you know, here's what I think. As the future unfolds, those who lead with legacy first thinking. So, as a mature person, when you begin to lead with legacy first thinking, you will not only influence your industry, you will not only influence your immediate community, but you will begin to reshape the trajectory of an entire industry, entire nation, or even an entire generation. Now, the second step, that was just step one. Now, the second framework, not step, the second framework on how to convert your maturity into impact and influence and wealth creation, what have you, is engineer your decisions through the ripple effect lens. Engineer your decisions through the ripple effect lens. What does that mean? As a mature person, because of what life have been teaching you in the past, you have now learned that, hey, in this life, every action, every decision creates a ripple effect, either seen or unseen. You listening to me, there is an action you took 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. There's a decision that you made 2 years ago, 3 years ago, without thinking properly. And there was a ripple effect that is still affecting you right now and may continue in the next few years, whether positively or negatively. True? Comment in the chat box. So, what am I saying? You come to a point where, as a mature person, there's a higher way that you're looking at life right now, right? When you understand that mature thinking, now you're tapping into your maturity to practice mature thinking, right? Mature thinking maps out, ripple effect by anticipating what I call first order, second order, and third order consequences before making a decision. For example, when you want to make a decision, begin to think, what is the immediate consequence of this decision? Action, first order. What is the short-term consequence of this decision? Second order. What is the long-term consequence of this decision? Third order. See that now? So when you're practicing, this framework of engineering decisions through that ripple effect lens. So as a mature person, when anytime you're making a decision, you don't just make it based on now. Hey, you always ask yourself, what is the ripple effect of this decision I'm about to make? It's very important, very, very important. Now, let me show you a 4-step process that you can put to use to engineer decision making by using the ripple effect of framework. Number one is map the primary, secondary, and tertiary effects of your decision. In other words, map the first order, second order, and third order, effects of your decision. What does that mean? This is where, as a mature person, you develop a structured approach for analyzing the potential ripple effects of each decision, focusing on the immediate, short-term, and long-term outcomes. Let us say that you're a guy right now. There's a crush that you have been eyeing for a few months or weeks, and I don't even know why you've been scared to talk to her, right? That aside. But you're thinking of reaching out to her and trying to establish a relationship. That's good. But have you properly analyzed getting her into your life, asking her out? What will be the ripple impact of having that lady in your life based on first order impact, second order impact, and third order impact? Immediate impact, short-term impact, and long-term impact. How will that look like for you? Same like as a lady. A guy has been asking you out for a few months or a few weeks, and you're thinking, I think I should say yes to him. Okay, that's a decision, but have you analyzed the first order impact of that decision, second order and third order impact of that decision? So that is the first step in applying this framework of engineering success or decisions through the ripple effect lens. So you're thinking through. Why? Because you need to come to a place where, especially major decisions, don't do them based on feelings. Don't do them based on what others are saying. You can get what others are saying, but if you have mentors, I always advise talk to a mentor, to somebody you respect. When you get what others say, sit down and say, hey, this is a major decision I need to make. Conduct a ripple impact assessment. That's what I call it. Conduct a ripple impact assessment. Identify the direct impact, the second order impact, the third order impact of that decision. Sometimes what I always do is I'll get a book, I'll get my journal or a paper, and I do a circle in that paper, and I write the decision I want to make. And I begin to do arrows by the side of that circle. I begin to write what are the ripple effects, consequences, good or bad. I begin to write everything. I think about it. I think through about it. And of course, as a believer, I get to pray about it deeply before I make that move, right? It's very, very important. So avoid guesswork and, of course, assumption in making major decisions as a mature person. Number 2 is quantify and qualify the emotional and psychological impact of that decision. Every decision that you will ever make, there is an emotional and psychological impact either on you or on people who are around you. In other words, you're looking beyond the tangible outcomes by considering the emotional, psychological, and social ripple effects on people, culture, and communities. Anybody who makes decisions as a mature person and considers the emotional and psychological, impact of their decision on, the people around them, let's say family members, close friends, and you also think about how will this decision affect me as a professional in my industry or somebody in my community, the culture, and all of that. Because when you begin to think like this, you begin to operate from a higher level of impact and influence. And there are things that you begin to see patterns and sometimes opportunities that you will see that others cannot see. So here you make up your mind before finalizing decisions. Assess how your actions will impact key stakeholders, including for those who are, managers, employees, customers, communities, from an emotional and psychological standpoint. The third step in applying this ripple lens effect is apply multi-generational impact filter. When you have matured in life, you begin to think in terms of generations, the next generation. If you are above 30 and you have never sat down to start thinking, how is my life going to affect the next generation? The next generation could be your kids, could be your younger ones, could be just the next generation as the world as a whole, right? So you begin to apply multi-generational impact filter. So here you are shifting your focus to creating decisions and sometimes solutions that will positively influence future generations. And here you are considering, how they will impact not just today, but also the tomorrow of that generation. So you begin to evaluate whether the ripple effects of your decisions align with your vision for the future. And this, of course, is only going to work if you actually have that vision for the future. So you begin to ask questions like, how will this decision shape the next generation of leaders, entrepreneurs, customers, or my kids? How will that happen? Right? And then number 4 is develop a ripple effect feedback loop. It's very important to have that feedback loop that you can begin to tap into. Develop a ripple effect feedback loop for real-time adjustments. So here you are implementing a system for continuous feedback to assess the real-world impact of your decisions, allowing for iterative refinement and, of course, adjustment. Now, how can this be done in a more tailored way? This is where, as a mature person, remember that your goal here is to make sure that the way you're thinking, the way you're acting, the steps you're taking, these steps are contributing to significant impact in the lives of other people and positioning you as a key player and being able to become that person that can attract opportunities and networks and things that will shift your prosperity, your wealth creation, and of course your influence in the society, in your family, in your industry as a whole. So here, you need to make sure in this step that you are setting up a feedback loop through which you have surveys, you use data tracking, you do regular stakeholder engagements to understand how your decisions are playing out. Because the goal here is that you need to understand, are the ripple effects of your decisions aligning with your expectations? Because every decision, we have agreed that every decision has ripple effects. But you also, as a person, you have where you are going to. You have career vision, business vision, financial vision, family vision. So you need to constantly begin to make sure that you are assessing, are the ripple effects of the decisions and steps I have been taking so far aligning with my expectations or aligning with the path I am pursuing and where I'm going to. That's how a mature person begins to look at life. And you see, when you begin to do these things and think this way, God has a way. Because I always say that, look, when you study scriptures, you understand that God has put in place principles and divine design, divine structures in place that there are things that when you begin to do and you align with these things, automatically life favors you. Life works in your favor. They are just laws and principles you need to align yourself with, and life begins to favor you. So here, make it a habit to review the unintended consequences and even intended consequences of your actions and decisions, and of course, adjust your course of actions as need be and keep on improving. So these are two frameworks. You cannot listen to this video right now just once and expect to tap into it. If you are 30 years and above, this is a video to listen over and over and understand the concept, the methods I've been sharing with you, because you will need this for the rest of your life as a person. The goal is that your experience in life so far, from the day you were born to where you are right now, you can tap into that maturity, you can tap into that process and use it and redefine the rest of your life for good. There's an age you get to where guesswork, assumption, excitement, blindsided ways of living will not help you in the next 30 years. There needs to be a shift in your thinking, in your action, and of course in your results. And these two frameworks, out of 20 methods that I have so far on how to convert maturity into significant impact and prosperity, they can help you so far. So as I said earlier on, if you are not in our community, please check the description, join the link for free. There will take time and teach all the 20 methods that you can use to convert your maturity into significant results and impact and influence and prosperity, so that you can use these tools and of course begin to advance your life, career, business, and whatever God has called you to do. God bless you. Keep building. Cheers.